everyone, and welcome to Underscores, where we talk to the overlooked people in the world of gaming. Today's guest, all the way from Germany, is Matthias Rustemeyer, a legend in the Mario Kart 64 community. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yo, hello, thanks for having me.
So, one thing I like to ask pretty much anyone who has experience gaming is, what games did you, grow up playing?
I grew up in the mid-90s as a young child, playing the games my older sisters had in my family, because the first console they got for Christmas '94, I remember that, was a Super Nintendo. So that was the first console I ever got my hands on as a little boy. And the first game actually was Super Mario Kart, and that's how I started gaming and got into racing games. So that was one of the first one I played regularly, not as a 4-year-old, but growing up the years after that. I focused more on racing games, and I like them really a lot. So I grew up with these 2D games on the Super Nintendo. Apart from SMK, it was also Super Mario World. So I was introduced to the entire Mario franchise through these two games. And I enjoyed Super Mario World a lot. I remember playing that a lot, along with SMK. And then a few years later, I got my first own console, which was the N64. And it came with only one game because my father got it off an auction, which was Mario Kart 64. It was the successor game from the first racing game I played and enjoyed so much. So I had my own console, I had MK64, and that's how I think I focused even more on this part in this genre of the game, of the video game collection. And along with that, I didn't have that many games on this console, but I played a lot of Mario Party, especially 1 and 2, and enjoyed all the mini games there. That was even more important to me than the board game itself, maybe, because if you've played it, you know there's a lot of RNG there. So Mario Party definitely influenced my childhood. And my friends also had PS1 games, and eventually I also had a PS1 later. So these were the three main consoles I played in the late 90s, early 2000s. I also went a bit onto PC gaming with mainly sports and speed games. So this part of the gaming world was always one I wanted to play the most and enjoyed the most. So I also played some FIFA or some Need for Speed, but it evolved around the Mario franchise and I would say sport and speed games. And that's how I grew up with video games.
That's nice. So before we get into sort of the thick of what you are famous for, could you explain the concept of speedrunning to those who might not know what it is?
There is some, how should I phrase it? There are some different categories, some different branches of speedrunning. I think over the last 10 years, it was getting more and more popular to speedrun any game. So it can be a platformer, it can be a jump and run game, where you don't have any timer in the game, built into the game. So people stream that and have a timer running on the side. So it's real-time attack, RTA called. But Mario Kart, what I'm known for, is a pure and true racing game where you have an inbuilt timer. And some people don't consider that the true speed running, what is called speed running in online communities. But I think it's a very natural way of speedrunning, since the game also, or it already gives you the intention of going fast and finishing a track or something as fast as possible, in contrast to maybe a platformer where you can just casually play it and you don't have a timer present. So you have to look at it from two angles, I think. And Mario Kart 64 is one of these games where it's natural to just go as fast as you can and get the fastest record on your cartridge, or maybe among your friends, or even later when the internet came around at some point, be the best at a larger scale, I would say. And yeah, that's the purpose of speedrunning: be the best, be the fastest in a certain amount of a certain circle of people, I should say, a certain group. That defines speedrunning for me.
And what like purpose do you personally find in speedrunning?
To compete with others. So I have a very competitive nature. It already showed in my early childhood, playing card games, board games with my family and friends. It didn't have to be a video game, just sitting with other people, playing something where some win and some lose. And I definitely had to learn to lose and to swallow that and take it. As a kid, that was not the easiest. So there I could really see, and my family could see, my competitive nature. And I think, the purpose of the video games which you play as a speedrunner, or where you have a timer, where you have a score, it doesn't have to be a timer, it can also be a scoreline, is to test yourself and prove that you can learn from mistakes and improve and get better at it. Yeah, learning from mistakes is always a big deal there. So it really puts you at a test, and you can also play it with other people to just enjoy, but you can also compete against other people to push you and the others to newer heights. So if you embrace it as a positive thing, then I would say it doesn't get you down. It makes you better and come stronger from defeats.
I like that. So according to the Mario Kart 64.com, which is the big leaderboard site for the game, you joined in early 2008. And so where were you and that whole like community as a whole, like where was that sitting?
Yeah, so to get a little story before I start answering that question, I had internet access many years prior. A few years prior, I was on the internet regularly, but at that point, I got an own computer with an own internet connection for myself, which maybe was the case for many families in the mid-2000s. But yeah, for me, it was around 2007, 8 during that years, and that gave me more accessibility and more time to browse the internet and search for stuff and look for my interests, which you can normally only share with your friends offline. You know, I know it's long ago, but maybe some of you remember that time, and maybe you were alive then. And when I had the own internet access and was discussing more about personal interests with my friend, he showed me a YouTube video. YouTube, the platform, was quite new back then, maybe 3 years old, just getting started to become the big thing. He showed me a video from this game, Mario Kart, which I played in my childhood and youth, but which collected some dust over the years, and I had not played very much for several years, let's say around 5 years or so. Showed me a video with shortcuts and game-breaking glitches, and except for one, I think, on Rainbow Road, which is quite famous, and maybe Wario Stadium, the first jump there, I didn't know of any others, and I had not seen them. So it completely blew my mind when I saw this video. Later in a retrospective, it wasn't even very good. It was just someone who could manage to hit some shortcuts, but it was not a top player by any means. But that video completely opened a new world for me, and it showed me what is possible in this game and how people share this knowledge now. And a friend of mine also showed me a website, MarioKart64.com, with a huge ranking and database and so many stats, which I really like. And a great community around it, which I found out. So that brought me into this whole world of online gaming communities, what I had not touched at all before. And I found out that you can have a very good time there, and a lot of people like to interact socially, something I would say I'm not doing at a large extent. So I would rather consider myself as introverted. But in this game where everyone shared the same passion, it was really easy to connect with some people and build some friendly rivalries, which was instantly the case the first year. So it was a great adventure and something new, because it was the first game I really competitively played and shared my knowledge or picked up knowledge from others.
So, so you just said, like, when you joined the site, you just were doing it sort of for fun. And at what point did you, like, realize that you sort of had what it takes to, like, become one of the best, one of the world record holders?
Yeah, that took some years, because the game is quite popular and it has a bigger leaderboard for such a retro game, I would say. So the skill level was quite high there, but of course over the last 15 years it went higher and higher. But to stick to the question, it took some years. I will never forget that, in 323rd place in the classic ranking without any shortcuts, so nice. What is called non-shortcut ranking. And I was in the top half already. There were over 700 people. Now it's doubled. It's, I think, close to 1,500. But it took me like half a year to really pick up some routine and master the basics, I would say. At the end of my first year, I was in the top 50 already, but I was still very far away from the top. So if you ask about world records, when I realized I could get them, it probably took about 2 years, I would say. And my intention was never to become world number one when I entered this the scene and the community, since it was so big, and the process of improving was not as fast that you can already say after a few months, okay, I got this, I will be number one, I will pick up world records. It definitely takes time, and it took me about 2.5, 3 years to approach world record level, and that didn't even mean I was close to number one. I was just close to picking up the first world record on the track and be the best there. So I was able to become German number one after a bit more than 1 year. I would say for the size of the country and the population, it was a bit underrepresented. And the best German player at the time when I joined was around rank 40. So there was a goal I had in mind after maybe half a year or so. I thought, okay, I can be the best in my country, and I did that. And from then on, goals went higher, but as I said, it took a quite long while to realize and have the confidence that I can go for world records. And I think even people who knew me from my private life outside the online community, they had to really encourage me to believe in world record ability at the first time, because I was a bit tentative towards that.
And what was your first world record? When did that come?
Yeah, that came after a bit more than 3 years since joining in January 2011, and it was on Warrior Stadium Fast Lap. So that was the first of many to come. And at that point, I was in the top 5, I think. So my timesheet was quite balanced. Some track specialists can or could hit world records being outside top 20, even top 30 sometimes. But I had a quite balanced timesheet, so it took 3 years.
Nice. So skip forward a little bit to today. And one thing that, like you said about Super Mario or Mario Kart 64, it's a racing game. It uses an in-game timer, and it's very competitive. So it seems like most of the time when you're streaming, trying world record attempts on various tracks, you do hours and hours of attempts just to possibly shave off like 1/100th of a second. Like, does that ever get like maddening or boring?
On some tracks more than on others, but I would lie if I say no. After all these years, it becomes quite hard on, especially on the tracks which didn't see many strat developments over the time. There are still new strats being found, especially in shortcuts, but also to a lesser extent in non-shortcut. So yeah, on some tracks it can be quite the grind, but I enjoy the game overall. I enjoy it enough to go through that grind and take the hours which are needed sometimes, or which are mostly needed to get another improvement. And what makes me keep going is that I'm competitive, and I'm still almost at the top of the game. If you followed the scene, you know that I lost the number 1 in February, but I'm still close again to it. So I was never in the spot where I was super far off and had no motivation at all. There may be one exception, which is another story, but overall, over the years, I could always get motivation from being close in the rankings. But during the last years, especially the last 3 years, but also over the last 10 years, which is my time span being a Twitch streamer, I took many inspiration, and I took much fun of the fact that I can interact with people in my chat. I have a great Twitch community. I have such a nice atmosphere in my chat, so that helps a lot. I think without this, and without in-person actual Kart meets, gatherings, annual Kart meets, which we have in the summer, without that, I would have lost motivation to go on. So that social aspect and that interaction brings some uniqueness, some variety, and some fun moments to most, if not every session. So I couldn't imagine anymore to turn on the TV and just sit down, play and grind for world records without any people to talk to, without any interaction. That's a big goal, to have fun while playing. That's what I always wanted and always felt. If it's not fun anymore, then I have to stop, or I have to take a break.
So, one of my favorite things that I've noticed about your personality on stream, in extreme contrast to like most other speedrunners, typically someone's on a great pace and they blow it, they'll throw their controller, they'll slam the keyboard or something, but you always just seem so chill, and like you're able to keep your cool regardless of like how frustrating it might be. And I wondered, like, is there anything specifically that you seem to do to like keep yourself under control, whether that's like, I don't know, deep breaths or just part of your personality?
Yeah, I would say the latter. I rather have a calm personality, so it takes a bit to get me lose my temper, So if I play a video game and no one is arguing against me or fighting me, anything like that, if I'm just by myself and it's about failing and getting frustration out of mistakes I do for myself, then I think it's just my personality that I keep my calm and keep me under control. I don't really like people who swear a lot, especially on stream, and rage a lot. So I don't want to have my viewers experience that. And at the same time, if I lose my temper and I get very emotional or very stressed, I think that would really lower my performance, and it would take some minutes to calm down again and get into the rhythm again. So I would lose a lot of time, by that, and play just worse than when I keep my calm. So I think it's a key formula. If you look at a fellow Mario Kart 64 player, Beck Abney, he's also very calm, and people say, oh, he's always very chill. So I think that can be a winning formula, or it can just boost your performance to a better level, to be very consistent and take hits and take fails more easily. Sometimes, of course, I'm boiling inside, so to speak. I'm just on the edge of maybe getting something out, and maybe I slap my thigh, or I just shout very shortly, but that's the maximum outburst, I would say. So I have myself under control, and I would say that helps in this game and the purpose of it.
I really like that. I'm gonna be straight up. Like what you said also about like you don't like it how other people like swear excessively. Like that's very
Yes.
unique that you just seem to be this like it really does look like you do speedrunning because you genuinely just find it a fun pastime, which
Yeah.
is really great. And that sort of brings me to the last question, which is you stream like a pretty good amount, but not constantly as much as some other people. So I was wondering how you sort of balance streaming and speedrunning with your day-to-day life.
Yeah, so when I started playing before creating a Twitch account, it was a hobby, and then it stayed a hobby throughout most of the time on Twitch, even when I became affiliate. And right now I'm doing it part-time, so it is a hybrid of hobby and earning something for putting in the time and the work. So it's a good reward, but it's still only a part of my life, because I think too much screen time and too much time streaming and being on camera and everything, that could burn me out a bit more. So I'm really focusing on a life balance, and that's why I'm not that much on Twitch actually when I'm not streaming, because I need time off this website and off the internet and in general sometimes to keep me in balance. And I'm quite the sportive person. So apart from the competitiveness in video games, I also am very passionate about sports, in particular about tennis. People who follow me and my channel, they know it, that Roger Federer is my idol in the sporting world, where I got some inspiration from in terms of being not in particular a gentleman, but being a good sport. I think that's what you say in English, and having the values of fair play and treating your opponents the right way. And I think that transcends to my way of playing and interacting with the audience. So apart from that, doing sports, I also enjoy being in the nature and not always around big crowds of people. So I enjoy the moment of silence and breathing through, having time off all the screens and technology which surrounds us these days. So I think that's what I need and what keeps me in balance.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think I would like to point out that we are currently planning the next Euromeet for next year in summer. There was, after the pandemic, some kind of reunion last year in 2022, and last summer in 2023 we had a bigger meetup again, which for some people felt like the first Euromeet, which was happening 10 years ago, some kind of anniversary. So if you are into Mario Kart and you hear this and you don't know about the Euromeet, There's also US meet if you are from the US or North America. Then check out our Discord or MarioKart64.com and keep in touch with the big guys, the organizers of these meets there, because that's, I think, a main key what keeps the community very vivid and alive, and it's a great part why I'm still around.
All right. Thank you so much, Matthias, for joining us here today. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Sam _. If you have questions, suggestions, or want to be on a future episode, you can contact me at samandrews0808@outlook.com. Intro and outro samples Slingshot by Krista Workson. You can listen to his music on Spotify or download it for free on Bandcamp. Thanks for listening.